Hello guys, I am back from another video and today it's about what if Deku was the only boy with a quote-unquote quirk. So, in the last video we talked about how, after that whole, battle between him and also the League of Villains, he would be woken up in, his room, as he would basically start, drinking, some blood, I guess you can say like a blood smoothie. Not technically. What do I mean by this? Ida would basically prick her finger and basically put some blood into the water. As Izuku would drink it, Ida would ask if there's a more efficient way to basically give him more mana to basically heal him. Izuku would explain the whole, mana basically, being in, a mage's, or in this case, a master's, system. Like, for example, saliva to, I guess you can say, cum. And if you know what that means, well, good luck. So, after, she heard that, she would start to become flustered as, she would basically, find a resolve as she would basically kiss him, allowing him to basically heal up once again. Now, Izuku's now fully healed, as it turns out, everybody was watching this. Class 1B and some of Class 1B. Class 1A and some of Class 1B, I meant. So, when a certain Class 1A member, specifically Bakugo, saw that, she wanted to, murder, Ida. But thankfully, Izumi is basically holding her back. Yeah, let's just say Bakugo was absolutely pissed. So yeah, while she was getting ready to, beat him down for it, she would basically, grab Izuku and basically kissed him, as everybody would just be in shock. Then a few hijinks happen, as when, three people basically arrived, specifically Principal Nezu, Aizawa, and All Might. When they saw this situation, they wanted to leave, because they're no way not going to, mess with that. So, after Bakugo basically, left because, she was a bit tired and also, how do I say this? I guess you can say satisfied. So yeah, after she leaves, Aizawa and also Principal Nezu would explain that they're going to be having a special event happening very soon. In this case, the training camp. As, both of them were basically told that they should probably get some, supplies and things of that sort for the training camp. And so, after that little conversation with Principal Nezu and also, All Might slash, and also Aizawa, technically, so they would basically, start to leave, as everybody was informed about this afterwards. So, Izuku and the rest of his, I guess you can say classmates, I guess, they would basically start to go into the mall to basically get some supplies for the training camp. Apparently, Izuku was also joining just because, in case of like a villain attack or, Izuku's old organization that he used to work for, aka, MASH. So yeah, so when they got into the mall, they would basically get some stuff, as Izuku was basically the chaperone for this time. So he was basically the one that's basically carrying all of their, stuff that they bought. Thanks to the help of his, clones, it was pretty much easy for him to basically carry all of this shit. So yeah, after a while, basically, getting some stuff, he would basically start to leave to go to a little shop so he can get some, headphones for his brand new phone. When he was about to leave, he was, just like in canon, Shigaraki would basically try and talk to him. But this time, she was a girl, so after a while of talking, one person would basically arrive. In this case, Ryder. As Ryder would basically burst through the, skylight of the, mall, as he would basically summon out several Aprishiki to basically capture anything of value. Because ever since the death of Archer, how do I say this? Ryder became, I guess you can say, the breadwinner in this, I guess you can say, organization. So, he would basically tell all of his Aprishiki to basically try and, get anything of value, including slaves. So, when Izuku saw, one of the Aprishiki about to, fire a crossbow bolt, and I forgot that it was, even though I said gun in the, what if, just wipe that out of your mind. I meant, crossbow. So, yeah, when the crossbow bolt basically, got shot out, Izuku would basically put, Izuku would basically push away, Shigaraki from that, the crossbow bolt's, direction, and basically got shot in the shoulder. Izuku would basically tell Shigaraki to basically leave to get out of there, as she would basically gladly oblige. And now she sort of has a crush on him now. Yeah, one of you commenters said that he's going to have a harem. Well, this is going to be the harem that he's going to be having. It's basically like Issei all over again, like from High School DxD. So after Izuku saw, Shigaraki left, Izuku would get ready to fight Ryder. And Ryder was getting ready to kill Izuku. So yeah, we basically left off that episode with that cliffhanger, and so let's talk about what happens next. So, Ryder would basically get ready, as Ryder would basically tell all of his Appreciate to kill everyone, including Izuku, and maybe even capture some slaves, and I mean some, and also get anything of value. Thankfully, the rest of Class 1A is basically left now, and Izuku told them that he's going to be coming back, very soon, because he thought he's going to find, headphones pretty, late, or something of that sort. So, Izuku would basically get ready, as he would get ready his guns, as he would start shooting at all of the Appreciate. The Appreciate would basically, bring out several weapons, mostly swords, and also axes. Izuku would dodge all of their attacks, as Izuku would start creating, several clones to combat them. Izuku would see, Columbus. Not Columbus. Technically Columbus is also a part of him, aka, one of his, heroic spirits that is fused with him. But anyway, so, Ryder would basically get ready shot, as he would shoot several, musket bullets at him. Izuku would basically, dodge all of these, as he would say this, "Why, you little," as he would basically grab a staff, a golden one with a weird looking, wait for a second, Ivan would, technically Ivan is also part of his, basically one of the servants that's also basically fused with him, but anyway, Ryder would basically bring up a staff, as the staff would glow blue electricity, as he would scream out, "Take this!" As a bolt of electricity would basically charge forward, as Izuku would dodge that attack, slamming into several of his Appreciate minions. As he would say this, "You useless pieces of," as he would basically say this, "Work better!" As he would basically look at all of his Appreciate, as the Appreciate would basically be scared, as his Appreciate would basically see one of his eyes. His eyes were glowing a dark maroon color. Not really maroon, it's more like a bluish maroon, basically like a dark reddish color, kind of. As he would basically gain that same disturbing face as Columbus. If you don't know what I mean, well, just imagine it just like this. Alright, I can't really find a good photo of, Columbus' smile, but just imagine it just like in the game. That fucking smile. As he would say this, "No, you useless," as he would basically scream out, "I'll just have to kill you myself," as he would basically grab onto his wheel, as he would start chanting, "Now, my voyage, my greed," as he would basically spin the wheel, as several chains would come out, as he would scream out, "Santa Maria, drop anchor," as several chains would basically come out of there, as everybody, mostly the ones from, below, that floor specifically, where Izuku and, Columbus is fighting, well, they would see several chains coming out of there, as everybody's basically running away. Several, heroes basically arrive, as Izuku would basically come out of, the mall, as, Columbus is basically there looking at, Izuku and the rest of these heroes, as he would say this, "More damn slaves," as he would basically snap his fingers, as the ship would start to shift and peel, transforming into a large, mammoth-like creature with an axe for its trunk, as everybody's just like, "What the fuck is that?" As Izuku would say this, "That's Ryder." As one of them would say this, specifically, a hero, as he would say this, "Wait, you're that," as Izuku would say this, yeah, I know," as he would say this, not he, I meant she, "Oh, do you know him by any chance?" As he would say this, "Yeah, so you better be careful, as he would basically get ready his noble phantasm. Another one, this time from Ivan, as he would scream out his noble phantasm's name. I'm probably gonna butcher this, but I think it was called like, Giri's Gitskikug. Or at least that's the pronunciation that I probably might have butchered. So, the ship would activate, or used to be ship, as this large, mammoth-like creature would start creating a ball of electricity, as Izuku would start to act quickly, as Izuku would just, would basically clone himself as he would jump into the fray. Everybody was just like confused, why is he doing this? As Izuku would take the brunt of the attack. After doing that, the attack would basically be nullified, as Izuku's charred body would basically fall to the ground. Everybody was in shock, as everybody would start thinking, oh no, is he dead? As Izuku's clone would basically get the consciousness of his, previous body, as he would say this. Well, that was disturbing. As everybody's just like confused, saying, what happened to you? As Izuku would say this. Well, thanks to my clone, I was able to transfer my consciousness into this one. That was terrifying. As when, Ryder saw this, he would say this. Why you? As that smile would still be on his face. As he would basically scream out, kill them! As several Aprishiki would come out, as Izuku would tell every single hero there to basically kill all of those Aprishiki, because those are not humans at all. So, all of them would basically, start using their, quirks without any restraint, thanks to, what Izuku said. So, they would basically start killing all of these things. Izuku would basically summon in a few clones to basically help him in this fight. So, he would basically jump onto the, ship as Columbus, aka, Ryder in this case, because I keep confusing it with, Columbus. I mean, I've been thinking of this idea for a while now, so, yeah, so, this, Ryder, as Ryder would basically say this, you, as he would basically charge in at him, as he would scream out, I'll kill you, as he would basically get ready his, sword, as Izuku would basically get ready his Gatling gun. Or at least one of them had the Gatling gun. While the main body, or at least the new main body, would basically grab, Erendite, he would basically, start clashing with, Ryder. As the clone with the minigun would start shooting at him, he would basically start dodging the attacks, as another one, or at least the other clone, would basically grab would grab the spear, Gaibolga, as he would start fighting him, as he would say this, you cheater! As he would say this, cheater? Says the guy who can literally summon in a freaking army, as he would say this, as he would basically get ready his rifle, as he'd start holding his face up, but literally, using his hand to basically cover his face, as he would have that mad, that crazy-ass face that Columbus always have, as he would say this, you will die, as he would basically start shooting at him once again. Izuku would basically dodge all of the attacks, but Izuku would get got shot several times already, so Izuku would basically, start to pant a little bit. During his, fight, several of the heroes were, fighting off against the Aprishiki. But after a while, they somehow defeated them, as the heroes would start to think, wait, where's that? As they would see, Izuku and his clones fighting against, Ryder. As Ryder is completely angry right now, as he would start screaming out, hi, as Izuku would say this, I what? As one of his clones would basically be up behind him, as he would grab two of his knives, as he would cut off his head. After cutting off his head, Columbus would fall to the ground, as his body would start to rot away, almost like a servant. As Izuku would think in his mind, wait a minute, I thought... As he would start to remember all the times when he tried to, when some of his, other compatriots back before he became, not really before, before he, lost, not really lost control, or you basically get it, as he would start to remember all the times when, some of his compatriots, died. In this case, like for example, Assassin or, Archer in this case. Archer and Assassin, well, their corpses would not disappear like, Ryder over there. As Izuku would start to think, wait a minute, then if they were actual humans, then what the heck was... As he would start to, think in his mind, but Izuku would just ignore it. Because, because now he's dead. And one of, well, wait for a second, goddammit. And thankfully, well, MASH doesn't have any power left. Or at least, doesn't have any, servants left. The only ones that are left are currently, well, let me just check. So currently, there's only 3 left. Saber, Lancer, and finally Caster. As Izuku would think in his mind, 3 more to go, I guess. As Izuku would see the, boat, aka Santa Maria, is starting to, fade away. Izuku would act quickly as he would basically jump off the boat as the boat would disappear in a glowing, bright mess of light. As Izuku would basically jump down as the heroes would basically look at him. As some of the girls were basically, I mean, all of them are girls, obviously, so some of them would start to blush a little, as one of them, specifically a hero that came to the call, or at least was late for it, for God's sake, and this girl seems to be a woman with blonde hair and blonde hair and purplish eyes, as she would say this. So that's the kid that seems to have a quirk, the first boy with a quirk. She would basically think in her mind as Izuku would basically start to leave. As all of the girls were basically wondering if he's okay, as Izuku would basically look back as he would basically call in a taxi. So, after he leaves, well, everyone was just like, oh, I really wanted to talk to him. As Mount Lady was looking at the taxi where Izuku's basically, rode on, as she would say this, maybe I should go introduce myself to him. He seems quite interesting. She would basically, smile as we go back to Izuku going back to, UA, as Izuku was completely tired. As Izuku would look at the, the driver, as he would say this, hey, taxi, just bring me to UA. As he would say this, oh, you must be that Izuku kid that I keep hearing about in the news and also the internet lately. Apparently you're the first boy with a quirk. As Izuku would say this. Yeah, lucky me, I guess. As he would say this. I guess so. As he would say this. And you're damn lucky too. I mean, I've seen a lot of girls looking at you. Even though I'm a boy, well, seems that all girls basically avoid me like the plague. As Izuku would say this. Why? As he would say this. Well, I guess because I'm a middle-aged man and I don't really have, well, anywhere to go. And I'm literally homeless. I literally live in this car. As Izuku would say this. I can see that. As Izuku would see, cup noodles basically, strewn around the floor of the car, and the smell of alcohol and depression. Yeah. As Izuku was basically looking at him, as he would say this. You're pretty damn lucky, kid. Just make sure not to waste it all. As Izuku would say this. Yeah, I guess so. As he would say this. By the way, kid. Actually, never mind. As he would say this. So, when he gets back to UA, everybody's basically, well, how do we say this? Everybody's basically excited for the training camp. As Izuku would notice, all of them are basically smiling, mostly the girls, except for, well, Izumi, for obvious reasons. So, Izuku was confused as Izuku would basically go back to his, dorm room. As Izuku would see, well, Ida. As Ida would say this. Hey, Izuku, how was your... As he would say this. Yeah, got the, these. As Izuku would basically put on his headphones as he would basically start listening to music. As she would say this. So you basically, wait for a second. Just gone all by yourself to just buy some headphones? As Izuku would say this. Yeah, ever since I got these, these brand new, this brand new phone. I really want to have some headphones too. Oh, I don't know, maybe like listening to music. As she would say this. Huh, I guess so. As Izuku would say this. Well, that was some day. As, well, wait for a second, god dang it. As Ida would say this. I guess so. As Izuku would say this. Anyway, I'm gonna be getting some sleep now. As she would say this. Alright, good night, I guess. As Izuku would basically fall asleep. The next day comes as Izuku would wake up in the arms of, well, Ida. Izuku is somehow comfortable with this, but he's still not comfortable of her, basically kissing him. Remember that last episode, eh? So, Izuku would basically, get off of her, way and basically puts a pillow as a substitute. She would basically start cuddling the pillow, almost like, a baby to its stuffed toy. As Izuku would think that was pretty cute. So, he would basically, start the shower, and while he's in the shower, well, currently, wait for a second. Currently, Ida finally woke up, as she would start to, get ready for the day. Because it's finally the day of the training camp. As Izuku was basically in the bathroom, basically taking a shower, he would hear the sound of the door opening in the bathroom. As she specifically, Ida is basically, taking off her clothes, Izuku would look over and see Ida, half naked. Izuku would, not see her, fully naked badonk-donks. As Izuku would basically be in the shower, basically, still showering. As, Ida would hear the sound of, a person showering. As she would say this, wait, is Izuku? As she would basically look at, the laundry pile. As she would see Izuku's, well, clothes there. As she would basically start to think in her mind, oh no, please, no. She would start thinking in her mind that if Izuku comes out of the bathroom, she will, that she thinks that Izuku would think of her as a pervert. But she would start thinking in her mind as well about, Izuku deciding to become a little bit, I guess you can say, feral. As, well, while Ida's basically thinking this, she would see Izuku's untended boxers. So, she would basically look at them as she would say this, no, don't think of this, Ida, you're a lady, you can't do this. As her, I guess you can say her dark side would say this, no, but I really want to have a sniff. As, she would basically, or should I say her, good side would basically say this, do not, it's absolutely indecent, as, well, her dark side would start motivating her to do it, as she would basically cave in and basically decides to, grab the boxers. She would basically feel, the warmness of her, Izuku's boxers, as, Ida would basically, start to sniff at it. She would smell the smell of sweat and also sweetness. She would smell somehow, I guess you can say like, I guess you can say candies or something, I don't know. But she would be satisfied. She would feel like she's in heaven. But while she was basically, sniffing Izuku's boxers, Izuku came out of the bathroom and saw her doing that. Izuku would just look at her as, when Ida's look back, she would see Izuku just wearing a towel, and, well, she would basically, put down the boxes and put it into the laundry, as she would say this, Izuku, it's not what you think, I'm not a pervert, I swear. As Izuku would just be like, what the fuck? As, well, she would basically be a blushing mess, as Izuku would start to leave, as Izuku would not look at her, as she would say this, oh no, no. She would basically, be in the bathroom all alone, as she would basically, grab her head, as she would say this, god damn it, why did I do that? As she would basically, scratching at her hair, as she would scream out, why did I do that? So, yeah. So, let's go back to Izuku. Izuku was there, basically just like a flustered mess. After seeing, Ida doing that to his boxers, well, let's just say Izuku now has a weird opinion about her now. So yeah, so Izuku would just be in his, outside, basically, changing into his, brand new clothes, as Izuku would hear the sound of, water basically running in the bathroom. Izuku would think, I, I'm guessing Ida decided to take a bath. As Izuku was basically there just thinking about that whole situation. As Izuku would just ignore that part where, she was basically like, actually, I'm not even going to say it. Oh, god damn it. So Izuku would, after he basically, put on his clothes for, the training camp, he would basically grab all of his stuff that he needs for it, as he would basically go outside and goes into the living room, seeing the rest of his classmates there. Not really classmates, but like, fellow class 1A students. All of the girls were basically, looking at Izuku, except for, Izumi for obvious reasons. All of them are basically, nosebleeding at the sight of, Izuku's new clothes, which, well, just imagine him wearing, like, wait for a second. Just imagine Izuku wearing something like this, similar to Cuckoo Lane, or at least his regular version from Fate, from Fate Extra CCC, or at least I think that's the name. So, the girls would just be like, damn, he's hot, as Baku's basically, eyeing him like a piece of meat. Izuku would notice this as he's kind of concerned. As Izuku would say this, so, guys, what do you think? As one of them would basically say this, specifically, Mineta, as she would say this. I absolutely love your, your new clothes, but I think it's better if you go as she would get, bonked on the head by Momo, as she would say this. Yeah, you look absolutely fine, and she would basically glare at, Mineta, as she would say this. I absolutely love your brand new, clothes. And she would basically mutter to herself, and I absolutely love how you... As she would basically, start blushing, and she would start to nosebleed a little bit. As one of them, specifically, Kirishima, would basically grab Izuku by, how do I say this? Well, she would basically wrap around, Izuku's, she would basically wrap her, arm around Izuku's, I guess you can say, shoulders, I guess? As she would say this, yeah, you absolutely look great, Izuku. As Izuku would say this, yeah? As Izuku would basically start to, blush a little bit. When, wait for a second. So, as everybody would just basically, turn to look at the, voice, which Izuku heard as, this voice would basically say, what are both of you doing? As Izuku would look back, and also everybody, they would see, Ida. As Ida's basically wearing, simple, casual clothes, as she would basically, look at, Kirishima, as she would say this. Hey, Ida, what are you doing? As she would say this. Oh, nothing. As she would basically grab Izuku by, the collar, as she would basically bring Izuku back to basically, help her with her clothes. As everybody was basically just like confused, but for Bakugo, well, she would look raged after seeing that. So yeah, when everybody's basically, fully ready, everybody's basically outside to basically wait for Aizawa and, the other teacher, specifically All Might. So, while everybody's basically waiting, everybody was just like talking to each other, as Izuku was basically talking to, Ida. Ida would say, Izuku, I'm sorry about, what happened in the bathroom. As Izuku would say this, don't worry, I'll just probably forget it. As she was basically talking about this, as Bakugo would hear the, conversation, as she would start to think in her mind, what does she mean by in the bathroom? As she would get the wrong idea. Let's just say she, got it off the, gutter. Yeah. So, she would basically think of that type of bullshit as she would say this. Did she? As she would basically become enraged after hearing this. As everybody would notice the bloodlust that's basically coming off of Bakugo. As, wait for a second. As they would basically, feel the bloodlust that's basically coming off of Bakugo. As Bakugo and the rest of the people there would basically see All Might and also Aizawa basically arriving, as Izuku would say this. Bakugo, not Bakugo, I meant, All Might, Aizawa, you're finally here, as, both of them would say this. Hello there, young Midoriya. As Bakugo would basically look at, Ida with a glare. Well, for, Ida, she would basically glare back, as Bakugo would think in her mind, whatever you did to Izuku, I'm gonna make you pay for that. As, for, Ida, she would think in her mind, why is she looking at me like that? As she would basically think in her mind, I'm guessing she's just, a bit angry at something, about me and Izuku being together. How annoying, she would basically say that to herself. Meanwhile, Izuku is basically there, basically talking to Aizawa and, All Might. All Might would basically explain that the reason why they were late a little bit is because apparently they're gonna be bringing in some special people here. So, after, announcing this to everybody was wondering, I wonder who are they? And if they're, girls, well, they're potential rivals again. So everybody was just, confused. But some of them were just, a bit mad knowing that if they're girls, well, they're gonna have some competition for Izuku's heart. So yeah, All Might would basically step up as she would say this. Well then, we're gonna be having a few people joining our, our training camp. In this case, we're gonna be having the big three arrive. As everybody was just like, wait, the big three? As everybody's basically whispering as Izuku would say this. Hey, Ida, who the hell are the big three? As she would basically explain, the big three are basically the three top, students of this year. And apparently they're pretty powerful. So, after All Might said that, All Might would introduce these three people. These three people basically, arrive as Izuku would notice, three people, specifically girls, as, the girls of Class 1A, or at least all of Class 1A except for, for Izumi, for obvious reasons, well, they would start to become a little bit jealous. Because, if they were to, find a way to, seduce Izuku, well, they're definitely gonna, bring upon their wrath upon them. So yeah, so these three girls were, well, wait for a second, Mirio, then there's Tamaki, and finally, well, Nejire, as they would basically introduce themselves, as Nejire and, Tamaki would look over and see Izuku, as, Nejire would basically, come a bit closer to Izuku, as she would say this. Hi there, the name's Nejire Hado, it's nice to meet you, as Izuku would say this. Oh, Izuku Midoriya, but you probably already know me. After all, I'm pretty much famous here right now. As she would say this. Yeah, it seems that you're a boy with a quirk. As Izuku would say this. Not technically a quirk. As she would say this. Really? As Izuku would say this. Yeah, but I prefer not to talk about it. As one person would basically, come a bit closer to him, or at least, walks towards him, and this person was Mirio, I think Mirio Togita. It's nice to meet you, Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Oh, hi, Miss Mirio. As she would say this. Oh, just call me, just Mirio. As Izuku would say this. Yeah. As she would say this. So, you're the first boy that's able to use a quirk. Quite interesting. As Izuku would say this. Yeah, I guess so, but it's not a quirk. As one of them, specifically, Tamaki, seems to be, hiding behind, Mirio, and also, wait for a sec, Nejire, as she would basically be a little bit shy, as she would say this. Name's Tamaki. Nice to meet you, I guess. As Izuku would say this. Nice to meet you, Tamaki. As Izuku would basically, held out his hand for her, as she would basically shake, Izuku's hand. As, Aizawa would basically say this. Alright, let's go. As everybody would basically start to, get all of their bags and luggage, as they would put it into the bus, as everybody would start to leave to go to the, to the training camp. And so, I'm probably going to be leaving this episode right here. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!